Welcome to Scenic Roots. I'm Miller Richardson, and today you will be hearing a special collection of stories by UTC communications students and members of Rising Rock. If a story interests you, you can head to risingrock.net to see the photos, written, video, and audio pieces. Emily Mitchell speaks with Corey Springer, co-owner of Chattanooga Horse Trams, the city's oldest operating carriage company. Springer, who has been coaching for the company since age 12, shares what sets their ride service apart and the ongoing efforts that have kept their carriages rolling for over 30 years.
You know, it's definitely an interesting business. Not every city has a horse and carriage to offer to take tours, and so it's something different. You know, if you're a horse person like me, then you definitely, especially enjoy it.
Chattanooga Horse Trams, a carriage ride service, has been operating since the mid-1980s. They're the oldest carriage company in the city, and Corey Springer, a co-owner, has been coaching with them since she was 16 years old.
I've actually had horses my entire life. My family had horses before I was born, and so I have grown up around them. We started out with your standard size horses, and then ended up with the draft breeds once my dad bought the business. He owned it for a little over 20 years, and then my husband and I finally talked him out of it about 7 years ago, and so we now own it.
For decades, carriage rides have remained one of Chattanooga's most recognizable and sought-after attractions. According to Springer, the appeal lies in the novelty of experiencing the city from a different perspective.
I think it's taking it back in time. It's taking it back in time to a slower pace. And then on top of that, you get a chance to hear the history of Chattanooga because we give tours. And so, our drivers get to tell you a lot about, just the history of downtown that just goes way back. You get to learn and, just enjoy the ride, sit back and enjoy it.
Even still, the carriage industry hasn't been without its controversy. In recent years, animal welfare concerns have led the city of Chattanooga to develop an ordinance surrounding the practice. For Chattanooga Horse Trams, the well-being of their horses has always been a top priority.
Quite a few of our horses have actually been rescues. Like, they were not far from deathbed, and we were able to, get them back to good health and actually, use them. If they're treated right and everything, then they enjoy having a job. And they only work weekends. We feel like to work them throughout the whole week is too much. At the end of the night, we take them out to pasture, out about 20 acres, and they're very well taken care of. There are definitely, carriage companies that they're not the same way, unfortunately. But as for us, they're our buddies. Our horses are our babies.
CJ Copeland speaks with Annie Duran about her work in helping immigrants get housing in Chattanooga through La Paz.
We will always find a way to meet the needs of our individuals, of our families, of anyone that comes across in our community because we're here to stay.
Annie Duran is a case manager at La Paz, Chattanooga, who works with a youth homelessness demonstration. She works with 18 to 24-year-olds who are at risk of homelessness or actively experiencing homelessness.
I handle everything that has to do with housing. The clients come to us and we never convince them to do anything. We give them as much options as possible because we really respect their self-determination.
This program is focused on ensuring that the clients are stable, can stand on their own, and are confident. Annie works to help support her clients and guide them through the hardships of finding a home in a new country.
So a lot of the times, like with our specific group, they were living with their families, and this will be their very first time renting by themselves. So it is important for us that they are building this base so that their first rental history is really good so that they can move on into something even better.
With bills such as House Bill 11, caseworkers like Annie are faced with constant new hardships.
I have seen so many things. I have helped so many families. I have helped so many individuals. So it's something that I keep very close to my heart. So hearing that this is, there are so many barriers already.
Though, with these hardships, Annie remains determined to help those in need. She encourages all to stay strong and keep fighting.
Even with everything that's going on that makes us feel we're not wanted, but we will be here. We will stay here, and the work is still here. Like I will keep fighting so that my families have the best outcomes ever.
Many immigrants in America are made to feel defenseless and scared, and Annie seeks to change these fears.
That's like our goal. Empower our clients so that they know that they must be treated fairly, that they have rights independently of anything, so that they are able to become stable and live their lives, live the best life they can.
And Annie, while working for La Paz, has been able to do just that, to encourage, empower, and support her clients.
It's something that I just feel incredibly proud of all that we have done so far, but also of all the growth that we will have in the future.
Megan Cooper sits down to speak with John Hendrickson about his lifelong passion for basketball. Hendrickson talks about how basketball has helped him through growing older and finding a community after moving to Tennessee.
John Hendrickson started playing basketball while growing up on a farm in Illinois. He saw players go through the Big Ten Conference, like All-American player Doug Collins. John continued playing basketball throughout college intramurals and adult life, until he eventually found himself playing senior basketball in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Many of us had a good background in basketball, just wanted to keep playing as long as we could. And then church league, different guys again, just, hey, let's do something together. And certainly when I moved down here, I didn't know anybody. So that was, made a lot of good friendships with that.
After moving to Tennessee, John found several great friendships through the Senior Basketball League at the YMCA and his church, proving that friendships go through changes and are just as important when you're older as when you're younger.
So one day at the Y, we were all done, and I said, is anybody interested in getting together some morning and just hang out and have coffee? And one guy said, yeah, I am. We became really good friends. He would come over to our house for Easter dinner or Christmas dinner and things like that. He passed away almost a year ago, but two other guys had intermittently joined us for coffee now and then. And those two and I meet now. We meet at McDonald's. One of them was a little short Chinese guy, Norm. And I still think he can't make a basket the way he shoots, but he can't miss.
Since it's mostly spread by word of mouth and knowing someone who knows, John believes that senior basketball is hard to find, but it's definitely worth the hard searching to get out and play some ball. No matter where life takes John, he will always enjoy playing the game and remembering the time he's had with friends because of the community he has found by playing basketball throughout his life.
I like to play. It's fun. I guess I find peace because nothing else matters at the time. You just play basketball. I deliver meals for Meals on Wheels, and there may come a time when I'm like them, where I'm not able to do certain things anymore for myself, or I can't get out. And so some of my motivation is keep going while I can. And when I can't, then I'll figure out something else to do, I guess.
You never know what game will be your last, but like John, enjoy every second of it with the friends that you make along the way.
Maya Spratley spoke with Laura Brown about her poetry and experience being a member of Rhyme and Chat. Brown was recently a featured poet in Rhyme and Chat's first Poetry Pathway installation.
Face to face, shared breaths of humanity, shoulders heavy with history's weight, dreams of unity, acceptance, and love without judgment stand across invisible walls built on assumptions and shades of skin. The weight of this moment presses upon us like a wool-stuffed patchwork quilt, separate burdens, clashing passions, fragile yet fierce, like newborn butterflies with rusty razor wings. Shh, listen. Beyond the shouts, there's solace in the silence, as between the dark blue hour of twilight and the burgeoning dawn. Hear our histories whispering beneath our skin, beneath layers and labels. revealing this threadbare truth: that standing together, we are not so different, blending colors, longing for light.
That was the voice of Laura Brown, poet and member of Rhyme and Chat, reciting her poem, Framework.
Most of my poetry, I tend to write about different types of relationship. Sometimes just moments, those random moments where you see something and a word might spark.
Laura recalls how she got involved with Rhyme and Chat.
Well, I've been Rhyme and Chat adjacent for several years just because, I love to listen to poetry. And it wasn't until this year that I actually joined, because I knew I was finishing my degree and I would have some time to join that. And so once again, just being, with a group who I know will support, encourage, kind of, push you out there. I think people should write poetry because poetry has a way of putting into words some things that we may not be able to articulate the way we want. I think people should write poetry because it's really an outlet for our emotions and an outlet for our thoughts. Even if you never share your poetry, to be able to write what you feel in such a musical and lyrical way that you can make death sound beautiful if you have the right words. So poetry just has a way of beautifying sometimes the ugly darkness that we deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Ella Soul speaks with Rachel about her story and struggles with living on the streets. Rachel also talks about how Streetworks helped save her life.
I just know that my life is worth more than that today, and women are worth more than that. Any human that's going through that.
In Chattanooga, as in many cities across America, women are constantly sold into sexual exploitation and trafficked each year. Rachel is one of these women who was sold into human trafficking at a young age. This led to years of drugs and street life until she met what would later become Streetworks.
They were doing prison ministry at the time before they started Streetworks, and I was locked up quite a lot. And they brought hope to the jails and the prisons jail, the Hamilton County jails. And so I started attending their services. I started going to church with them and everything. And then they opened Streetworks for women like me who could come there and get the help they needed.
For women like Rachel, Streetworks is seen as a safe place where they can build connections and receive consistent support from people who genuinely want to help. Through the assistance of Streetworks and her family, Rachel is able to get into a program that will help her obtain peer support, connect to health resources, apply for jobs, and complete high school and college education.
Karen and them offered me hope, coming out there to the streets and saying, Jesus loves you and we love you and we're here for you and we're never going to give up on you. And I'm like, well, why would y'all give up on somebody like me? Everybody gives up on me, So I was just like, yeah, I'm ready. I can't do this lifestyle anymore.
Change is unimaginably hard, but Rachel and many others are choosing to change, not only to save their own lives, but to also find the opportunity and create lasting positive change for their future.
I'm getting my GED, and I plan on getting a degree in something. I'm not sure what yet. I'm sure the Lord will lead me to it. And I plan on getting a home and where my children can come there and feel safe, and because I haven't felt that way in a very long time till now, and I feel like they deserve the best mother. And I would love to be able to empower other women that's been through what I've been through.
Crystal Tomlinson from the Veterinary Care and Specialty Group, or VCSG, speaks about the pet blood donation services offered at the clinic.
Right now, we were just trying to bring awareness into our community as much as possible. Bring in those people that want to be a part of the program, that want to just make it exciting and fun.
Veterinary Care and Specialty Group, or VCSG, is an advanced referral and emergency care clinic in Chattanooga, Tennessee. One unique component about VCSG is its in-house blood bank facility. Crystal Tomlinson is the operational manager for the clinic's feline and canine blood bank.
So all animals need blood, just like humans. As far as it being widely known, we run into the problem that it's not. It is very important to have blood banks in your area. Animals can also donate blood. A blood bank is kind of a utilized department to get those blood components to be able to supply not only in the hospital but for other local clinics as well.
Blood donations from animals follow a similar process to humans, including a needle and a blood bag. However, an initial meet and greet is necessary for technicians to determine if the animal would be a good fit for blood donation.
So our program is volunteered. We do have certain requirements for an animal. Of course, they have to be between the ages of 1 and 8. Depending if it's a canine or feline, we need them to be up to a certain weight as well. They can't have any previous transfusions. They have to be up to date on heartworm and flea meds, and they also have to be very healthy and happy, well taken care of. We like them to be fat. We do utilize a jugular vein for a blood draw, but the jugular vein in an animal is the biggest and the fastest bleeding vein for an animal, and it's the most safest one to collect that amount of blood.
The VCSG blood bank is not only used for specific surgeries or treatment plans, but it acts as a life source, supplying blood to many different departments within the clinic, as well as other clinics in the Chattanooga area.
Well, just like humans, whenever we go into a serious situation medically, as far as anemia or IMHA or just any kind of immune disorder, it is needed for blood. We are not only just a blood bank, but we're a full-fledged hospital. We have multiple different departments. We also have an ER that runs 24/7. There are only 3 in the area. And because of that, we get a lot of referrals, a lot of animals rushed in, car accidents. We also have surgery department, which we also support as well.
With the constant need for blood, VCSG is continuously trying to promote and increase their donor pool. They are currently working on trying to do local blood drives alongside local clinics.
Since I've been in the blood bank, I've realized that just a lot of people don't know about animal blood donations whatsoever. And that's the problem, because our blood bank is needing more volunteer people and animals to participate and become active in that program, and bringing more awareness, I think, would help with that.
Angelina Fraga meets with Brian Slayton and discusses his journey as a barber over the years. Brian has been cutting hair since he was 10 years old. His craft began as a necessity to cut expenses and quickly evolved into a side hustle. Today, Brian shares his gift with the less fortunate by offering free haircuts in Miller Park every Wednesday. His clients leave with confidence and a better shot at their next interview.
You know, because like when you in one of those situations where your life ain't going good, you feel downtrodden. And if I can touch you some kind of way and help you, like, hey man, today you're gonna be a good day. Get your nice haircut. You know, it might make you feel better about yourself. It might make somebody look at you in a different light. Say, hey man, I don't know if it's got homeless or not, but his hair is nice. This lady's hair is nice. Her eyebrows are beautiful, you know. So they might be more receptive to helping out, or even just not to say a kind word. Because sometimes kind words is better than a meal and a couple of dollars.
Brian Slayton is a local self-taught barber who offers free haircuts in Miller Park every Wednesday to anyone going through a hard time.
See, I come from the west side, right? And haircuts cost then $15, $16, which is a lot of money back then when your mother don't have it. One Christmas, I got a pair of clippers. They wasn't new clippers. My mom said, you can have them. And I started cutting my hair. Oh, I cut my hair and I might look like one of them Apaches because I scalped myself. I mean, horrible. And everybody laughed in school, so I cut it all off. You know, I just started practicing on myself. It was that looked pretty good after about 200 times. Now, back then, I only had one pair of clippers. So I started saving money. And a couple of guys that were barbers in the neighborhood started giving me loan equipment and teaching me how to do different things. And I just, you know, kind of like went on from there.
Brian's gift only kept giving. Years later, he was able to see the difference his clippers and barber tools could make.
Maybe like 3 years ago, a friend of mine wanted his haircut. So I came out and cut it. And the guy said, lady said, well, can you tighten up in the back? I said, tighten. So what you want? I said, I don't need anything. And the guy said, can you cut me? I said, yeah. He said, well, I ain't got nothing. You didn't charge her? I said, well, I won't charge you neither. So I cut his hair, and the other guy said, man, I heard you cut hair over here. I said, wait a minute, is this like a bum rush on me? No, I just need my hair cut, man. I'm going for an interview tomorrow. I said, come on. I cut his hair, and I cut four or five more people's hair. I said, man, this might be something I need to do. And I seen the guy who Carol was going for the interview. He said, man, I got the job, man. Let me buy you a coffee or something. I know you like coffee. I said, no, man, you don't have to give me no coffee. But that made me feel good. I said, you know what? I'm going to go down there every week. So if nobody else get a job, or nobody else get nowhere to stay, or nobody else even get a kind word, I can do that for somebody else to make me feel better.
Connor Spelta talks with Chris Winters, the Director of Workforce at the Chattanooga Tree Project. Winter, an ISA certified arborist with over 10 years of experience, talks about plans to share his knowledge and experience with a team of young professionals as part of a workforce development program.
It's probably the most important part of the whole tree planting initiative is the actual long-term maintenance of these trees.
That's Chris Winters. an International Society of Arboriculture certified arborist. He's talking about the soon-to-be-implemented Workforce Development Program at the Chattanooga Tree Project.
When you're planting a lot of trees for a neighborhood in a large scale, you need to take care of those trees. It requires a lot of maintenance. A large majority of our funding is going towards the maintenance of those trees. So instead of just planting those trees and hoping that they survive, we are going to be developing a small workforce group of individuals from 18 to 24 who are interested in entering the green industry, teaching them all about urban tree care, urban forestry, and how to care for all these trees. So we'll be watering, mulching, pruning, and caring for each tree that we plant for up to 3 years after it's planted.
The program is the key difference between their project and previous tree planting initiatives in the city.
Oftentimes, people are given trees by a free program and they are expected to care for those trees, but that can be a lot of additional work on the homeowners themselves to ask them to care for these trees over the course of years. So by us providing all of the maintenance and care, they can simply give us permission to plant the trees and we do all of the work for them. It's also really important for people who may not have general access to entering the green industry. Things like landscaping, tree care, industries like that can be hard to break into as somebody who may not have the general skills to enter that force. So we will be providing those general skills so that they can get a job afterwards working in those fields and feel more confident entering those fields. So it's a dangerous industry to be in, and it is a notoriously, as we call, like a trial by fire industry. I think talking about it just from my experience, I broke into the tree care industry as somebody who had no experience in landscape or manual work or any sort of labor force. And you're expected to know a lot going into a field when you know nothing. So you're expected to know how to operate skid steers and heavy equipment and chainsaws and all this equipment that is relatively dangerous, or very dangerous to use. You're expected to know how to use that day one. And how can you possibly learn how to use that if you've never been taught? So our goal is to introduce our workforce into using this heavy equipment in a controlled setting where they can feel comfortable using it. They don't feel like they're under pressure for time or production, and they can feel confident going into a full-time job with skills. It's a really, really cool industry. It's very passionate, very passion-driven. The people who love the work are some of the coolest, most fun people you can know. They get to climb trees for a living, which is just a very unique position to be in.
Drew White speaks with Bailey Fist about her experience as the newest member of 42E3, a Chattanooga-based K-pop cover group.
In middle school, took some time to learn K-pop dances in my room, but I'd never had any chance to really perform them.
That's Bailey Fist, a new member of the Chattanooga K-pop cover group 42E3. This group films covers in public to post on their social media pages. Bailey used to be active with UTC's K-pop Culture Club, or KCC, which puts on a cover showcase at the end of every semester. However, her busy schedule keeps her from participating now.
Initially, the main appeal for 42E3 for me was that it's really free time based. The schedule isn't set in stone for club activities and KCC showcase activities. It's more like you can do what dance you want to do on your own time, and we all schedule around each other's free time. And so as I became busier getting into graduating and everything else, that was the appeal of I can do this on my own time. I really enjoy having another community around K-pop. Because of my busy schedule, I haven't been able to participate in the KCC club activities. So having a community not only who likes this music, we also have a mutual liking of dancing as well. With 42E3, it's really unique because it's not a group where there's one leader. We all should take a leadership position, so all the burden isn't put on one person. It's a team effort. And with song choices, if you are the one that chose the song, you are the one that's sort of in charge of that song.
Bailey joined 42E3 by submitting 2 audition videos, showcasing both masculine and feminine dance styles. She's in one cover that's yet to be posted, and her group met for 4 practices, each lasting about 2 hours after learning the choreography individually. Then, they meet to film the cover for their YouTube and Instagram pages.
I think while K-pop has become more globally accepted, there's still definitely a stigma around it, especially being in the South. And so I think with the 42E3 girls, it's really admirable what we're doing because these are K-pop performances in public, and K-pop, while being in the South, has still faced a lot of backlash. Luckily, there was no bad experience for us. At least where we were, it wasn't getting too much traffic of people. It's just a great time to be able to dance with people who have similar interests.
Emily Pettit-Dwyer speaks with Professor Amy Brock-Hahn to get an update on research being done at the Raccoon Mountain Caverns and future plans. Brock-Hahn, a geology professor at UTC, gives insight into Chattanooga's interesting geography.
I was early into rocks. I think most kids are, right? I just never lost it. My name is Amy Brock-Hahn. I'm a professor of geology. I'm an associate department head, and I currently also serve as the associate director of the UTC Jones Observatory.
It's clear that Professor Brock-Hahn's curiosity about Earth is lifelong as she talks about her early love for rocks. Her passion comes through as she describes Chattanooga's unique geography, a place where the Appalachian forces give way to a striking transition in the landscape.
Everywhere is interesting. Every place has a unique geologic history. For Chattanooga, we sit at a unique place in the eastern United States where we had a transition between rocks getting crunched and folded during the Appalachian Mountain building of it, and then kind of where that crunching stopped. And that is essentially the transition from the plateau to the valley and ridge, and Chattanooga sits right there.
With the donation of Raccoon Mountain Caverns in 2024 by an equally curious local, UTC is a step closer to creating a true live research lab in the mountains of Tennessee. This unique space now opens up exciting new avenues for student research and hands-on learning.
I've been fortunate to have done work in Raccoon Mountain Caverns starting about probably 10, 12 years ago. And we were looking at the sediments within the cave and how they were brought in by rivers, basically moving water, to get started on our understanding of how the cave developed over time. There's been research into the chemistry of the water that moves through the cave, microplastics. The cave is a great opportunity for us to understand how humans impact these unique ecosystems, because Raccoon Mountain Caverns has pretty much been open to the public for tours for almost 100 years. So we've got this cave that's had humans impacting it over time. And so how has that changed the ecosystem? So there's an avenue of study.
Looking ahead, Professor Brock-Hahn envisions long-term monitoring stations in the cave, which will track ecosystem changes over time, ensuring we learn and protect these underground wonders.
We've got a couple of new professors coming on board that are likely going to want to jump in. We have a hydrogeologist coming in who does work in caves, and so they're probably going to jump right in the cave. So it's real exciting now that we have this classroom. The history of the Earth is one big puzzle, and it's geologists that are working to solve the puzzle, put all the pieces together and to tell the story of the Earth. And by doing that, we also can help to solve problems in the future.
This is Miller Richardson. Thank you for listening to the Rising Rock Showcase on Scenic Roots. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Scenic Roots 423. Make sure to check out Rising Rock online at risingrock.net and on Instagram at Rising Rock Chat. Music is by former student Dwayne Bingham, and this showcase was edited and produced by Miller Richardson. See you next time on Scenic Roots.